5 little puppies dug a hole under the fence and went for a walk in the wide, wide world.
Once there was a reindeer named Rudolph, who lived at the North Pole in Toyland. Rudolph was younger and smaller than the other reindeer there.
Good morning, alarm clock. Hello, toothbrush. Good morning, clothes. Hello, yummy breakfast.
What did that say? On the first page. What did that say? Did that say there would be a monster at the end of this book?
Goldenbooks are 65 years old. For 65 years, people have been buying these, and they started out as a way to get children's books into the hands of as many kids as possible. They were produced cheaply, and they were able to be bought cheaply. I think the earliest price I've seen is 25 cents, but I'm sure when it started they were even cheaper than that. A lot of people call them grocery store books.
That was my reward for being good. If I didn't throw things off the grocery store shelves, I got to pick a little golden book to take home and keep.
I think we got them for 99 cents when I was a kid. And so they were very inexpensive, very accessible, and led to reading bigger and better things in later years.
You can still find them in grocery stores, and they were a quick, easy way to buy a children's book, but they're not cheap books. There are renowned children's authors and illustrators that work on golden books. Margaret Wise Brown, Garth Williams, Richard Scarry.
They exposed you to authors and illustrators that went on to become very famous. So for example, my Golden Book of Manners may not be a Caldecott award-winning book, but it's illustrated by Richard Scarry. And also Peggy Parrish was the one who wrote this book, and she wrote the Amelia Bedelia books. So they used really good illustrators and authors to write these books. I would like you to meet my friend and say your friend's name. Be sure to serve your friends food and drink before you have any yourself.
The best-selling children's book of all times, according to Publishers Weekly, is The Pokey Little Puppy, and that's a golden book.
Well, I think I identified with the pokey little puppy a lot because he always kind of poked along, doing his own thing. His brothers and sisters and his mother thought he was pokey, but I just thought that he was curious and he marched to his own beat.
Because golden books have been around for so long, 65 years, I think just about everybody around knows them or has been affected by them some way in their lives, whether it was their grandchildren, their children, themselves, and children today.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally remember this book. So it was really, I think it was a book we read a lot because I remember all the little illustrations in it. And I was the oldest child, so I was always often reading stories to my siblings. So I probably would have read this book to them when we were little.
I remember when I was a kid, my mom if I was ever sick, she would get me a little golden book as a prize, you know, to kind of make me feel better. So I remember kind of saying, Mom, I have a sore throat, and can I have the Big Wild Animals book next?
Golden books remind me of my very earliest childhood memories. My mother got it for me because she had 4 children and she had trouble keeping all of their rooms clean, and this is a story about a little girl whose mother abandons her room until she decides to clean it up herself. I loved this book as a child, and it made cleaning your room seem fun. Jennifer knew, as well as you, that everything has its place, but she just didn't care a whit a bit, so her room was a real disgrace. This will always be a classic. It's not dated. You can enjoy it now. It's a Sesame Street character with Grover, the monster at the end of this book. I remember reading it to my little brother, and I read it to my 2 sons now, and they enjoy it just as well as he did. So I've read this one to them, and this one is a staple bedtime story in our house.
It was one of my very favorite books, The 4 Little Kittens. You know how when you get a book from your childhood and certain pictures will just strike you? I always loved this picture of the little cat wet and cold, and I just felt so sorry for him, and I was so happy when that man put him in his pocket. And I was just fascinated by the fact that you could put a cat in your pocket. Now, I'm a cat lover now, and I don't know if I've always been a cat lover or if I'm a cat lover because of this book.
A golden book to me was the beginning of my reading obsession. So it was a collection of books, and you could always tell it was a little golden book because it had this spine.
I liked how when you lined them all up, they looked so pretty on the shelf because they all had those pretty Even though I know now it was fake gold, they had that beautiful gold spine that looked really pretty on my bookshelf.
When my oldest daughter, Sarah, who's now 19, was little, and people started giving her lots of books, talking about how important it was of reading to your child, to read very early. So we began those as soon as she was old enough to sit up. She would memorize the pages before she could even read, and she would read the book back to me. And she was so in tune with the books that anybody that read to her, because we had to read all the time to her, that if we skipped pages because we were exhausted and ready to go to bed, she would say, no, skip page. You know, go back, go back.
A very old, worn-out lollipop was stuck to her bathrobe pocket, and her bureau drawer, it was plain to see, had been struck by a super rocket.
Good morning, Sparrow. Good day, a kiss to you, dear flowers.
And when they got to the top of the hill, they counted themselves. 1, 2, 3, 4. One little puppy wasn't there. Now where in the world is that pokey little puppy, they wondered, for he certainly wasn't on top of the hill.